On Maple Street, everyone knew Mr. Thomas. At least, they thought they did. He was the old man who lived alone in the blue house at the end of the block. Every morning at exactly 7, he walked to the corner store for coffee. Every afternoon, he sat on his porch with an old radio beside him. And every evening, before sunset, he watered the small garden in front of his home. He had lived there for nearly 30 years. Yet nobody could say they truly knew him. He wasn't unfriendly. He simply kept to himself. He never attended neighborhood parties, never joined community events, never talked about his past. Most people assumed he preferred solitude. Children in the neighborhood called him the quiet grandpa. Adults waved when passing by. He always smiled, always nodded, but conversations rarely lasted more than a minute. Nobody thought much about it. Until one winter morning, for the first time in years, the porch was empty. The radio wasn't playing. The garden remained untouched. At first, nobody noticed, but after several days, concern started spreading through the neighborhood. A local mailman realized newspapers had piled up near the front door. The lights inside hadn't changed. Something felt wrong. Authorities eventually entered the house. Mr. Thomas had passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 84. The news saddened everyone. Even though few people knew him personally, he had become part of everyday life. The neighborhood felt different without him. Then, something unexpected happened. A lawyer arrived several days later. He carried a small box and a list of names. The names belonged to people living on Maple Street. Nobody understood why. According to Mr. Thomas's final wishes, every family in the neighborhood had been invited to his house for a meeting. Curiosity quickly spread. What could the quiet old man possibly have left behind? The answer shocked everyone. Inside the box were hundreds of handwritten notes. Each note contained observations about people in the community. Not creepy observations, kind ones. Mr. Thomas had spent years quietly helping his neighbors without ever taking credit. One family discovered that anonymous grocery deliveries during difficult times had been paid for by him. A young woman learned that the scholarship fund which helped her attend college came from an unnamed donor. It was him. An elderly couple found out that someone had secretly paid their property taxes after medical expenses nearly forced them to leave their home. It was him. Nobody could believe it. For decades, the quiet old man at the end of the street had been watching over everyone, without recognition, without praise, without expecting anything in return. But the biggest surprise came when they opened his garage. Most neighbors had never seen inside. The door remained closed almost every day. People assumed it held old tools and forgotten furniture. Instead, they discovered shelves filled with carefully organized boxes, school supplies, winter coats, blankets, emergency food packages. Every box carried labels with specific family names and dates. The lawyer explained everything. Mr. Thomas had been preparing to help anyone in the neighborhood who might need assistance during hard times. He believed communities should take care of each other, but he never wanted people to feel embarrassed or indebted. So he remained anonymous. As the story spread, former residents began contacting the neighborhood. Many had their own memories. A single mother remembered finding Christmas gifts on her porch during a difficult year. She never knew who sent them. A teenager recalled receiving money for community college applications after losing his father. No name was attached. An elderly man shared how someone paid for repairs on his roof after a storm. He had spent years wondering who helped him. The answer was always the same: Mr. Thomas, the quiet man nobody really knew. Local reporters eventually learned about the story. They wanted interviews. They wanted explanations. But perhaps the most remarkable discovery came from Mr. Thomas's military records. Neighbors learned that he was a decorated veteran. He had served overseas many decades earlier. After returning home, he chose a simple life. No recognition, no public attention, just a small house on Maple Street. One journal found inside his home contained a sentence that changed how people viewed him forever. He wrote, "The world becomes better when kindness is given without an audience." That single line explained everything. He never wanted gratitude. He never wanted his name on buildings or plaques. He simply wanted people to have hope when life became difficult. Months later, the neighborhood decided to honor him, not with a statue, not with a large memorial. Instead, they created something he probably would have loved: a community assistance program. Neighbors helping neighbors, quietly, without expectation, without attention. The garden in front of his house still exists today. Residents take turns caring for it. The old radio remains on the porch as a reminder of the man who sat there every evening. And every new family moving into Maple Street eventually hears the same story. The story of the neighbor nobody really knew. The man who lived an ordinary life on the outside, but changed countless lives behind the scenes. Because sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones who never ask to be noticed. And sometimes the greatest acts of kindness happen when nobody is watching. Mr. Thomas spent 30 years being known as the quiet old man at the end of the street. In reality, he was the heart of the entire neighborhood. People just didn't realize it until he was gone.